Which brings us to Donald Trump.
Yep.
You know, I saw the story break last night, saw people jumping all over it, yet again, you know, using phrases like, these are the most serious charges ever laid against the former president, since the last serious charges laid against the former president, you know, and there are people who are convinced that he's guilty. And there are people in, I mean, Julie Hartley-Brewer was talking about the people in this country, generally speaking, who think Donald Trump is guilty and should be dragged through the town and hanged until he, you know, cheers up or whatever, are the same people who wanted to undo the Brexit vote in 2016.
Well, that's actually quite a good comparison. One of the defences of Trump is being put about now, also by his kind of opponents in the race to become the nominee.
Yes.
So people on his own side, they are more or less saying that the government and Ministry of Justice in this case and the FBI, they're all being weaponised against Trump. Now, it's hard to deny that.
Right.
These are serious charges.
Yeah.
And in fact, without going for hyperbole, they are the most serious that certainly he's faced, if not the whole of American history. But the fact is that they are out to get him. They've been out from the very beginning. They're going to keep going on and on. What they don't kind of realise, I think, Mike, is that each time one of these things comes along, like in this case, these criminal charges, he sees it as an opportunity. And
it is an opportunity, because every time he gets charged with something, his popularity goes up. The people who like him, and I slightly worry about that sort of dynamic, because I don't think it's good for democracy to have people so divided and so polarised that they believe everything that one person says and disbelieve everything that somebody else says. You know, I don't want our country to go that way, but it sort of has in a way with Boris Johnson. Boris leaving has made it slightly better, but there was definitely a similarity between the people on the left who hated Boris Johnson with a passion and thought he was to blame for everything.
Well, I mean, they talk about the deep state in America, and they talk about the way in which it is against a Republican such as Trump. It was similar here. We lived through it, Mike. Do you remember those, 4 years between the referendum and...
I remember sitting endlessly for hours on end on College Green in stalemate, where in 2019 particularly, where nothing happened and nothing could happen.
But all the kind of, you know, agencies of the state, the judiciary, the media, all of this, you know, they all kind of came together to try to thwart what was in a...
Lady Hale with a little spider lapel badge button.
So it's sort of similar.
Yeah.
I think it fundamentally changes your whole attitude to your own institutions, or at least it did with me.
Yeah.
But I think in the case of Trump, 74 million people, as you say, think he can walk on water. That is really not changing. I think he stands a very good chance, actually, of being elected.
Well, he's way ahead in the polls, and he's certainly way ahead in the Republican polls. You know, there's no other Republican coming anywhere near him. But what's interesting is that the people who defend him over there, and I was watching quite a lot of the overnight stuff in America on places like Newsmax and on Fox and other places, where people are saying this is a free speech issue. This is not about, you know, breaking the law as such, you know, but they're basically doing him for things that he said. And even in the indictment, I'm going to read you this because it's quite an important paragraph. It says, the defendant had a right, like every American, to speak publicly about the election and even to claim falsely that there had been outcome determinative fraud during the election and that he had won. So they're effectively saying that we're accusing him of trying to derail the election by saying these things. However, he was allowed to say them under the Constitution.
The only sort of strange thing I think about Trump in this particular instance is why he keeps, in a way, harking back. I mean, forget about the indictment for a minute. Even in his general campaigning, he keeps harking back to I lost, you know, it was rigged, I lost the election because it was rigged. And you sort of think, well, wait a minute, you know, surely there are a lot of people that might actually favour you being president, but they can't have any truck with any of that. Why don't you just leave that? You know?
Well, they're doing the job for him, though, because if he wanted to leave it, that would be one thing, but he can't leave it because actually they keep coming after him, and he's now accusing them in a counter sort of argument of interfering with the 2024 election. And you could say he's not maybe wrong about that. One of the things he said is that why have they waited 2.5 years? They've waited because they wanted to do it now.
But everything so far that has really been up against Trump, the really serious charges, for example, about Russian intervention, total baloney, you know, total baloney. He's not being charged, by the way, in this instance with the incitement to insurrection. A lot of people might think that's what actually it's about, but for some reason they've left that out.
Well, they've left that out because they can't bring anything on that, because they tried to impeach him twice, let's not forget, and they failed to impeach him. And as we heard this morning from one of the Republican overseas, Greg Swenson, he said, look, they've tried, the place to do what they want to do was either at the ballot box or in the Senate and in the House, and when they wanted to try and impeach him, and they failed.
Yes. My one concern really is that when we come to 2024, if Trump is there and wins, or if Biden, would it be Biden or whoever it is?
I'm not sure Biden's going to last the course, to be honest.
Right. But whoever it is, I think there could be major civil convulsions.
I mean, you and I know America well. I've never been more sort of disturbed, shall we say, by what's going on there.
Yes, exactly.
I still go there quite a bit. My mother still lives there. But it's in a bad place right now.
It is. All the things that we used to love about America, I'd say, that sort of spirit of kind of can-do, that confidence, also the patriotism.
Yeah.
You can still find those in pockets, actually very large pockets. But it's not the overriding thing that goes through all of society anymore. It, basically it is the most left-wing presidency we've ever had, but the actual culture has become much more left-wing.
It has.
It has here.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. We'll just take a short break. We're talking to Peter Whittle, founder and director of the New Culture Forum.